So what you are going to hear from me is the position of the government on the issue of fuel subsidy removal. His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari has, following engagements with stakeholders, agreed to an extension of the statutory period for the implementation of the removal of subsidy on petroleum premium motor spirit, PMS, in line with the existing laws. The new Petroleum Industry Act provides for the unrestricted market pricing for PMS from the effective date. However, the PIA also envisaged the potential for supply disruption with its resultant effect on the economy. Consequently, it provides for a window of 6 months from the effective date for government to request the services of NNPC Limited as supplier of last resort. This is to forestall supply disruptions and guide market readiness preparatory to migration to the deregulated pricing regime. With assent by the President on August 16, 2021, the PMS subsidy removal was therefore expected to take place effective February 16, 2022. However, following extensive consultations with all key stakeholders within and outside the government, it has been agreed that the implementation period for the removal of the subsidy should be extended. This extension will give all the stakeholders time to ensure that the implementation is carried out in a manner that ensures all necessary modalities are in place to cushion the effect of the PMS subsidy removal, in line with prevailing economic realities. The President assures that his administration will continue to put in place all necessary measures to protect the livelihood of all Nigerians, especially the most vulnerable. Thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Should I stay here and take the questions? Okay. I can have my seat. Okay, I thought so. Okay. The first question is how long before we finally remove subsidy? And I thought the statement was very self-explanatory. There is already a provision in the law, but because Mr. President is a very human president and is concerned for the plight of our people, especially the less privileged, he believes that the impact that removal of subsidy will have on the vulnerable, poor and vulnerable Nigerians should be mitigated. And he believes that certain structures must be put in place prior to the removal of subsidy. All those structures are not right now in place. One of those is to ensure that the refineries are working, and you are all aware that steps are being taken for all refineries to be functional very soon. The Dangote refinery is expected to come on stream at the end of this year. All our refineries, the Port Harcourt refinery is expected to be performing at a certain capacity, not full capacity, by end of this year. There are some modular refineries that are also going to come on stream later this year. Also, there is discussion of introducing an alternate fuel for cars in the form of autogas. And somebody asked what has happened since launching. A lot has gone on there. In fact, even today, if you had noticed, I briefed Mr. President on the progress that has been made on autogas. We are hoping that in March or April, the conversion processes will begin. We promise that 1 million cars will be converted initially, and of course a corresponding amount of filling stations, gas filling stations, will also be built. That is in progress, and I want to assure you that it will happen very soon. That also has to be in place before we say, okay, we want to take out subsidy. We're also looking at palliatives. The Honorable Minister of Finance and her team are looking at possible palliatives for Nigerians as well. So because all these have to converge before we announce the complete removal of subsidy, because Mr. President especially wants us to ensure that this doesn't have too much impact on the people, we are now extending the time for subsidy removal. I will not want to specifically mention the time of extension because that will be a product of a discussion with the National Assembly, because it is likely to involve an amendment of the PIA to extend the time. And I always do not want to preempt what time frame the National Assembly will allow. But definitely at this moment, fuel subsidy is not on the cards, or fuel subsidy removal is not on the cards. Also, somebody asked about the auto gas policy, where we are on it. I have almost said that we have discussed with countries, discussed with original equipment manufacturers that are willing to come to Nigeria to set up. And they are actually willing also to give us 50% of the funding. We have discussed also, myself and the Minister of Finance, have discussed also on how we can match them with 50% so that it will be 50-50 from us and from the original equipment manufacturers. That discussion is already concluded, so it is not an ongoing discussion. I just needed to get Mr. President's final steer on it today. And of course, very soon it will be brought to Council, and as soon as we are through with Council, the process of our Nigerian marketers accessing the funding and the process of conversion and the building of the gas stations will begin. Because we need to put this thing all in place. Like I told you the other time at the previous press briefing on the matter, if you convert the cars without installing the capacity for the filling capacity, the filling stations to fill up these cars, then the cars, it will not be a functional system, because the cars need corresponding filling stations. So if you convert the cars, you must provide also the corresponding filling station. If you build the filling stations and you don't convert cars, then the filling stations will also be hanging. So these have to go hand in hand. And that is really what is ongoing now. And I can assure you that all this will come together very soon before the subsequent removal of fuel subsidy. What plans? What plans for the refineries? Of course, you are also aware that the refineries, the rehabilitation of the refineries are ongoing. I already said that. Dangote refinery is already on, and we are hoping that by end of this year, the refineries will be functional, at least to a great extent, not necessarily at nameplate capacity, but it will at least, Port Harcourt refinery especially, will be producing. And we are also expecting that Dangote refinery will also have come on stream. Final question was on labor. Engagement with labor. Of course, this will continue. This is an ongoing process. We want to start. We've been engaging labor for a long time now, if you are aware. And that engagement will be ongoing. I would just want to stay here that maybe I will get the GMD and other people to make some comments, but it's a developing process, and maybe by July 2022, we'll be able to get back to you and give you additional developments from here. I also noticed last night, I remember very well when I was passing by a filling station, I noticed some queues building up. But this is not natural. You know, when people are expecting a certain policy direction, people tend to want to take steps against it. Some want to profiteer, and of course they try to begin to hoard. Some people also want to make sure that they stock enough PMS in their homes, so that whenever there is this announcement, they will be able to have enough in storage. So all that will inform the reason for this panic buying and, of course, panic hoarding. But that is why government has to come out to make things very clear to you that this is not on the cards. We are not contemplating this policy direction. That's why we want to just ensure that our people know that they can just remain calm and don't have to hoard or do any panic buying, that we don't intend to remove subsidy now. So that's why we actually are making this announcement at this point. Somebody asked about legality. Of course, I already mentioned that. We also see the legal implications. There is a provision, a 6 months provision in the PIA, which will expire in February. And that's why we are coming out to say, look, before the expiration of this time, this is what we intend to do. And if you listen carefully, I also mentioned to you that we engaged the legislature. Or we believe that this will go to the legislature we will apply for some amendment of the law so that we will still be within the law. We are proposing an 18-month extension, but what the National Assembly is going to approve will be up to them. We will approve an 18-month extension. We will propose an 18-month extension, and then, of course, it's up to the National Assembly to look at it and then pass the amendment as they see fit. Somebody asked if it is because of the elections. Of course not. As I told you, first it's just the human face of the government, and the president especially. He wants certain structures to be in place, and he insists that if we want to remove subsidy, we must make sure that we put every measure in place to protect the suffering masses of Nigeria. That is the president's insistence. So we are now taking steps to ensure that these processes are in place. And this now gets into the labor engagement that we are talking about. We are already talking with labor, and our discussion with labor is also around these palliatives and mitigations. So all this will have to come together. That's why we decided at this time, especially since we are running against time, with the legal time frame approaching very quickly, we thought we should come to you and let you know that we are taking steps to amend the law and to ensure that we are within the law. And let me also say this, because somebody mentioned here the possibility of gradual increase. That is not on the table as well. We are going to come back to you. I told you that by July 2022, we'll be in a position to come back to you and to explain how far we have gone. But gradual increase, whatever, or any increment, whatever, guys, is not on the table at this time. Yeah, you want to say something? Well, we did not insist. It is a law that was passed, and it was passed. You see, every law is not cast in stone, my friend. Every law, usually when you start operating a law, you now begin to see some issues that need to be adjusted. Even an architect, when he designs a house, doesn't have to build a house the way it's designed. Look, I'm telling you that everybody, look, an architect, for example, gets the flop, he gets the design of the site, and he designs according to the site. But when he gets to the site, to actual construction, he can see need to adjust, to make some adjustments. That's what we are doing, and I think we are very well within the ambit of what is needful to do. Uh, Even sometimes your barber, when he wants to cut your hair, he has to look at the shape of your head very well and adjust the hairstyle. So, in fact, no law is cast in stone. So we are now trying to see how we can rejig the law. This is not going to be the only amendment of the PIA. You all remember that a few months ago, Mr. President already proposed some amendments. This is not the first amendment. So why are you very particular about this amendment? Mr. President already proposed some amendments of the law. He has now, we are going to propose this amendment. There might be other amendments that will be proposed because that is the way the law is. I mean, we will continue to adjust it as we see fit, as we operate it.